we have to worry when one of our major political parties is willing to embrace a way of thinking about our democracy that would be unrecognizable and unacceptable even 5 years ago or a decade ago.
In a CNN interview that aired Monday night, President Obama discussed how he never thought dark spirits would take over the Republican Party. How is that? Donald Trump, one of the dark spirits that took over the party, cut his teeth in presidential politics, questioning Obama's birth, his citizenship, and his legitimacy as president. Obama seemed to believe that institutional guardrails would force the Republican Party to distance itself from racists and bigots rather than succumb to them, even though the Republican Party has been baiting racists for a generation, and that racial hostility was on full display during the Obama administration itself.
The degree to which we did not see that Republican establishment say, hold on, time out, that's not acceptable, that's not who we are, but rather be cowed into accepting it, and then finally culminating in January 6th. Another way of saying this is I didn't expect that there would be so few people who would say, well, I don't mind losing my office because this is too important. America's too important.
Listen, Barack Obama is an extremely smart man, so I just don't know how to take this answer in these interviews. Are these just kind of artful, hopeful answers being politically correct so that he doesn't upset people? Or did he truly not recognize how wide and deep the racism had grown in the Republican Party? MAGA is just the Tea Party made over. MAGA wasn't any more about economic anxiety as the Tea Party was about fiscal responsibility. It was all about white racial displacement. And white supremacists reacting with violence didn't start with this year's insurrection. It has been the American norm throughout this country's history. Joining us to discuss is political commentator Clay Cane and MSNBC daily columnist Dean Obeidallah. Dean, how are we supposed to take this? Obama's not a naive person. Also, he's incredibly smart. So what is this thing about him not recognizing that there were dark spirits that were in the party that they wouldn't be able to control?
The reality is Donald Trump was never an aberration. He was a culmination of where the GOP had been going for years. We know that. Voter suppression didn't start since January. It began since 2013 when the Supreme Court gutted the Shelby County decision. The GOP controls Supreme Court. Since then, they've been doing voter suppression. I honestly think President Obama, though, was trying to reach out to people who might not be paying attention. It's not just about the dark spirits. It's about the GOP embracing authoritarianism, embracing now fascism, and that's not hyperbolic, that's academic. Madeleine Albright, in her book Fascism: A Warning, talked about how fascism requires the use of violence and undemocratic means. So you had undemocratic means before, the rejection of democracy by the GOP documented for years. January 6th added violence. So I honestly think that President Obama is very strategic in what he's doing. He doesn't want to be here now. He thought he was going to retire from politics if Hillary had won. Now he's brought back in the game, and I think he's literally alerting people that today's GOP is not something we've seen before, maybe trying to reach some people in the middle to go like, what's going on here? Because it's dangerous times. Let's not play games.
Clay, is this idea of reaching people in the middle, continuing to kind of reach out to people in the middle, is that smart politics at this point? Does this not just overtly calling it out and saying what it is help Democrats somehow?
Yeah, I wish that Democrats would really focus more on the base, right? I think part of the frustration that folks in the Democratic Party have is that Democrats appear to not be able to see the white supremacy writing on the wall. I adore President Barack Obama, but if he wasn't able to see what the Republican Party was before he even got into office, that's part of our frustration. We want someone to call it out. I mean, I can go to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. You see the Republican Party shift then. The Southern Strategy, Ronald Reagan vetoing the 1987, trying to veto the 1987 Civil Rights Act. Even under the Bush administration, you know, the failure of Hurricane Katrina and Condoleezza Rice is shopping for Ferragamo shoes and going to a Broadway show. I mean, this idea that if we reach the middle, if we reach these imaginary people, they're going to somehow go on our side. No, I think we have to be more courageous and be able to call things out. And that's the frustration that I see among millennials, among young people, that we won't call out the white supremacy that is just written in bold print on the wall.
See, Dean, this kind of reminds me. I've written before that I think Obama is a Washingtonian president, not George Washington, but Booker T. Washington kind of a personality. Very popular, but also kind of straddled the middle and appeased a lot of white people. When Washington was writing his book, he's talking about how well he's being treated as people are being lynched all around him, left and right. Doesn't even acknowledge it, right? There is something about the blindness happening here that is disturbing to me, because I know, first of all, like I said before, super smart. He knows it. So I'm just trying to have you help me understand how this is not a kind of willful blindness.
Who do you think he is talking to? Is it us on our side? We see the white supremacy. We know exactly what it's about. He doesn't have to tell us that. I honestly think that message he was sending was to the rest of America. Everybody on the left knows what the GOP about. The GOP is not a political party. It is now a white nationalist movement that has embraced fascism. Again, that is academically correct, and we should call it bluntly what it is. I think Joe Biden has been more blunt because he's white. He uses white privilege to try to alert people to something. And I mean that in the best of ways. He's using his whiteness to help communities of color. I think President Obama speaks in different measured terms. And President Obama, that interview with Anderson Cooper, it really wasn't for communities of color. I'm Muslim. I know the GOP hates me. They wanted to ban me and everyone who's my faith group from coming to this country. When Trump called for it, 2/3 of the GOP was down with it. You don't have to tell Black and Latino community that the white supremacy is now the DNA of the GOP. We've known that for years. I honestly think, and you could push back on this, Charles, but I think he's speaking to people in the middle who are not paying attention, and some white people who might not be getting what's going on, in the maybe futile effort to bring them in and go like, there's something going on. Because his point about democracy is not self-executing is such an important thing for people to understand. It's not here automatically. Right. We have to fight for it.
Clay, last question. How do you think that the base, the hard base, that means people of color, those are people who vote most for the Democrats. How are they going to take all of what's happening right now, particularly coming out of that last summer, which people call the reckoning? The bills are stalled. The voting bill looks like it's in trouble. The George Floyd Policing Act looks like it's in trouble. People are dancing around calling a thing a thing. What is going to come of this when it comes to those people who are the hard base of the Democratic Party? How are they going to react to this?
I think it's going to hurt us in the midterms big time. One of the ongoing themes I heard in that interview with Anderson Cooper is they were talking about, you got to hear both sides. We're in our bubble. We're not really hearing each other. And the truth of the matter is, if you don't believe in my right to vote, I'm not going to hear you. If you believe in upholding relics of Jim Crow, I'm not going to hear you. If you will not focus on the things that black voters have brought to the table to make sure that we didn't have a Trump in for a second term, we're not going to hear you. So I just think it's going to hurt us if they don't get some gumption, they don't get some fire, and realize their power. We've won the popular vote several elections in a row. So I really hope they get some fire behind them, or it's going to be a scary 2022.
Clay Cane, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.